Ever finish up a run and feel like you did everything right, but you still bonked or cramped up or just dragged through the second half? I know I have. Chances are it's not our training that's the issue. It's our approach to hydration. Today's sponsor, Scratch Labs, have built a hydration system designed for the reality of everyday endurance running. You lose different amounts of fluid, sodium, and energy depending on the day, the course you're running, and your body. So why do you drink the same thing every time? That's why Scratch allows you to customize. They have their sports hydration mix for everyday training, which is super drinkable, very tasty. And they have their super high carb drink mix that I like to use the night before my long run for kind of a mini carb load, and then the morning of as well to top up my glycogen stores. They also have an unsweetened hydration mix, which I like to sip at during the daytime when I don't want to be taking in tons of sugar, but I still want to have something that's tasty in my bottle. And finally, there's the electrolyte booster, which you can add to any drink without altering its flavor. Right now, Scratch is offering a free hydration sample bundle. You just pay the shipping. You'll get 5 single-serve drink mixes and the option to add that electrolyte booster, which I highly recommend. Go to scratchlabs.com and use the code Marathon Bundle. It's all one word, Marathon Bundle, to build your bundle today. We'll put a link in the show notes. We thank Scratch Labs for supporting everything we do at Marathon Handbook. This is the Marathon Handbook Podcast. I am your host, Michael Doyle. I am joined, as always, by our very much road running oriented senior editor, Alex Sear, who we promise is going to be signing up for his first ultra by the end of this podcast. And
whoa, wait. You told me we were talking about Kipchoge today. Oh, come on. Is this the Ultra Podcast?
This is the Ultra Podcast.
This is the Ultra Podcast, Alex.
Get out of here, man. Oh, okay.
We tricked you.
And of course, we have
here now
our Ultra Queen. She's all lathered up for this one, Katelyn Tocci. And today we are going to talk about the weird and wonderful world of ultra running. What it is, how you can get into doing your first ultra. Wink, wink, Alex. And we're also going to unpack the grand jewel of ultra running, UTMB, Ultra Trail du Mont-Blanc. Did I get that one right, Alex? That was good?
That was okay. That was okay.
I slipped a little bit there, didn't I? Which is going on this week. It's actually starting Friday evening local time in Chamonix, France. And it's a truly special event. It's inspired us to talk all about ultras. We recognize, gang, that I would guess probably the vast majority of our audience maybe has never done an ultra before, but at some point in time you become ultra curious, which is sort of, I guess, where I've been living for the last decade or so now, is dabbling in ultra-esque type events from time to time, but mostly staying focused on the marathon. And Mr. Sear, he fears even the buffed out single track. So we're going to do an explainer for the uninitiated. First things first. And this is a complex question for you, Katelyn.
Okay.
Ultramarathon. Okay, so we got the marathon. You'd think it's anything more than a marathon. 42.195 kilometers, 26.2 miles. If I run a 45K, is that an ultramarathon?
Technically, yes. If you...
Oh, really? I was expecting the opposite.
Technically, yes. I'm a little more open-minded about this, that I take the definition as is. However, there are a lot of people in the ultramarathon world, and I think it's kind of all over the place. There are some people who say it starts with the 50K. There's some people who say it doesn't start until you get up into the 50 milers, the 100K, and the 100 miles. But I would say that if you're looking at it from a technical standpoint, an ultra marathon would be anything more than 42K, even though I'm sure there's plenty of debate and you've heard plenty of elite ultra runners out there with their own perspective. But I mean, for our purposes, I think we should say that it's for anything longer than a marathon because it would be more ultra than a marathon.
So I'm so surprised. I thought you were going to call the 43 to 49 kilometer zone like a no man's land, which is what I've heard from a lot of people. I'm sure. And yeah, there's a lot of debate about that, but I just feel like if that's what the definition is. So I'm just going to stick with it. But I think usually you're not going to find many ultramarathons between that range. So I think if you're going to run an ultramarathon and you're going to start with that first distance, you're most likely going to start with 50K. So I think that's kind of the starting point for everyone anyhow. And so from 50K and on is really where those races begin.
So when I've taken a wrong turn in the latter stages of a marathon and got back on course and ran, 44K.
There you go. You're an ultra.
I'm an ultra runner.
You're an ultra guy. You were ultra lost.
Lost.
I certainly
like
was. Now, so the ultra marathon, I mean, we're not going to get into like a deep dive history here, but like ultra running has been a thing since the days of Phaeodippides. I mean, technically speaking, the very first marathon was an ultra marathon because I think the distance from Marathon to Athens is actually maybe, is it a little more or a little less than Marathon, than 42.195? Might be a little less actually, so I'll take that back. But like running for a really long time is a thing that people have been doing for thousands of years, right? And the very first marathon or ultra marathon on the books that everyone kind of celebrates is Western States, which is a 100-miler in California. Goes over a whole bunch of mountains and is really, really hot because it happens in the summertime. And it started as like a weird horse versus man type event. We've talked about this on a previous podcast, I think about a year ago. Won't get into it now. But I've got another sort of touchy one for you, Katelyn.
Oh boy, why are we starting like this? That's okay.
This is good.
This is good. Okay. Throw it at me.
50K. The kind of the first true blue ultra distance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do ultra runners consider the 50K a real ultra event?
Okay. This is a very good question. As an ultra runner, I do. And I'm going to tell you why. I feel as though, even though a lot of road runners will come into it and say, okay, the marathon's 42K, a 50K is a very small jump. Now, if you're going to do a 50K ultra on the road, yes, perhaps that is a very small jump for you. But I think we're focusing more on trail running ultras. So when you get into a trail running 50K, most likely it's going to be very different and it's going to have a lot of different factors than your road marathon, right? So you've got to start thinking about all of those differences. So you may have a ton of elevation gain and loss. So you're running or power walking hills. Just that right there makes coming from a 42K and a marathon to a 50K on the trails completely different, and the time can be a lot more than what you would think you would run that 8K on the road, right? It could be a couple hours. It could be a couple hours difference, depending on what about the terrain. Is it going to be really rocky? Do you have to, remember last week or the week before when I talked about, what was it, my mud lake? Do you have to go through 7 kilometers of a mud lake, and you have to figure out how the heck to get around like a 3-foot deep mud lake? So you can, hanging onto branches and going through, it makes it very slow. So it's all going to depend on, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, the differences. And I'm sure we'll get into more of that. But so just right off the bat, I do think it's an ultra, because you're thinking, if maybe you're a 4-hour marathoner, but this 50K could be upwards of 6, 7, 8 hours. It depends on so many different factors.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, So I started seeing like the growth of these ultra road events. Yeah. Not least of which that chasing 100K that Adidas just hosted to have someone break the 100K world record, and turns out someone did go under the 6-hour mark, which is pretty cool. But when I see those road events, there's like a very important property that they don't have that ultras have, and that's like the technical element of it. I think they almost need to come up with a different name for those road events, because when I think of an ultra, I think of two things. I think of a race that's very long, but also a race that's quite technical compared to the road counterparts.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think when we say ultra, just sort of as a generic term, these days, generally speaking, we're thinking of an ultra trail event. We're thinking of an event that has some sort of a significant elevation profile, or at the very least is run on trails, single or double track type trails. Whereas, there's a world of road ultras, which is a significantly smaller ecosystem of runners, and it's its own thing. And it's even different. We won't get into it now, but it's even different than the road running scene writ large, because they tend to be on smaller looped courses.
Even on tracks sometimes.
And even on tracks sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very oddball scene, for sure. So kind of your bread and butter ultra trail distances, 50K, 50 miles, 100K, 100 miles. Would you say those would be the kind of the four premium distances you see at most events, Katelyn?
Yeah, absolutely. Like when you have an event that's going to have a series of different trail races, you're also going to get non-ultra trail distances in there. You'll probably get a 10K and a 21K, and then they'll probably skip up to the 50K, 80K, and then sometimes you get 100 or 100 milers. And then just as an honorable mention in there, because I've run a few stage races, which are really fun as well, they have some ultra days. And I guess in general, it would be an ultra, like the ones that I've done are 250 kilometers, but they're over 6 days. And there are some people who do go out, like a Courtney, my girl, she'll do a 200-mile run, which I think is just a whole nother animal and something that I can't even imagine. Those other distances do exist, but the ones that you mentioned, Michael, are definitely the easiest to find and the most common for racing.
They're sort of designed for attempting to attack all in one shot with not a whole lot of taking big breaks. Whereas my understanding of like the 200 plus mile, like these ultra distances, is that like there's big breaks between sessions basically over multiple days.
Someone might sleep or take a nap or something like that, because if not, you're just running on empty for so long. Even with 100 miles, for a runner who's not an elite and running it, even elites in the UTMB, we'll get into it, are running upwards of 20 hours, but you're running over a day, and some 100 milers are so difficult that you're running for 2 days, and you think of that lack of sleep. Imagine if you're doing a 200, 300 mile race, you're obviously going to need to take naps, like in your favorite backyard ultra, Michael, Laz's race, right? They try to sleep a little here and there.
Yeah, they try to get like a 5-minute nap between loops.
Right.
Are you sold on this yet, Sear? Are you like getting excited, catching the ultra bug, or we still need to work on things for?
You're going to have to work on it.
We'll work harder.
Yeah. Every time I hear the words Lazarus Lake, I walk a couple meters farther the other way.
What, out of curiosity, Alex, what's the farthest you've ever run before in a single shot?
30 kilometers.
20, less than 20 miles.
Less than 20 miles. Flat. Yeah. And the reason I did it was where I'm from, like my childhood home is on a 30-kilometer loop. And over the holiday break, I did it as part of like my biggest workout session in preparation for a half marathon. The truth is, when you're training for a half marathon, there's not much benefit to running anything more than a 30-kilometer run. Even that is kind of pushing it. So never have more. And even then, when I was reaching like that, I think I can't remember how long it took me, but it was a workout, so I was doing pretty quickly. And once I reached the like 100-minute mark, I was getting hungry. I was starting to feel feelings that I don't usually feel inside of a regular training block. So that part made me a little bit curious of like, I wonder what happens on the other side of that frontier. But like the feeling of having run for 3 hours and having another 3 to go is completely foreign to me at this point.
Beautiful segue, man.
That was amazing.
You just like, it's like T-ball. You just put the ball in the tee for me. I'm going to crack it out of the park here, which is that's another factor, I think, especially if you're getting beyond the 50K, you're getting into 50 miles, certainly 100K, definitely 100 miles, is like eating becomes a real thing in these events, Katelyn. Like,
yeah. I mean, when I've dabbled in road running, as you guys know, I've run a couple of marathons and I do like to run on the roads as well. And when I'm doing marathons or half marathons, I will absolutely always and only use gels and the most liquid gel you can imagine. I will never eat anything because I don't know about you guys, but I can't really breathe, chew and swallow and run at a hard effort at the same time. It doesn't work for me. So I've got to use gels. When you're on the trails, it's a little bit easier to eat solid food. And believe me, you're going to need it for these hours and hours because like Alex said, you're upwards of, an hour and 40 minutes and your stomach starts to growl. And the liquid just might not cut it and just might not fill you up once you're running for a few hours. So one of the biggest things that you really have to do when you're training for ultras is train your gut like crazy because you have to make sure you're not going to eat anything that's going to bug you. You don't want to be taking a ton of pit stops, been there, done that, not fun. Oh, it's been a while since we've talked about that. So you've got to have your fueling.
oh boy.
Yeah, really, really in check. So, what do people eat? I mean, it's all over the map. I've got friends, we're going to Run Rabbit Run in a few weeks for this 100-miler. And I've got some who've been training mostly on gels and sports drinks. But basically they're saying once I get to 100K, all bets are off. And I'm going to use the aid stations, which are like these beautiful buffets at the races in the States. They're amazing. You can choose from a ton of things. And once you get deep into a race like that, you really crave solid food because your stomach is really growling. So things that have worked for me have been like grilled cheese sandwiches. It's like I'll grab one and my trick of the trade for all of you trail runners out there, if you don't already do so, is I eat on the uphills, right? So if I have to power walk a hill, that's a whole nother a kettle of fish. You have to power walk a hill because it's more efficient to walk in some places than it is to run. I'm going to eat, chew, and swallow when I'm walking up that hill because it's much easier than if I'm running fast on a flat or running fast on a downhill. So, so you have to practice all that kind of stuff in your long runs, even though, they're not going to be as long. You've got to really work it out, try everything out, see what works for you. This past weekend, you guys know I had my peak week. I ran 62 kilometers on Friday, 61 kilometers on Friday, with 3,000 meters of gain. So that was a bunch of time. It was a little over 7 hours. And I was eating cookies. I was eating stroop waffles. I was drinking Powerade. I was just trying to do a really good mix. And I brought along pretzels because you're eating, all that really sweet stuff. And you've got to get some sort of salt in there or you're gonna kind of drive your taste buds crazy. So it's a really nice mix, but you've got to train your gut and you've got to find out what works for you. But yeah, solid food. That's one of the big differences between road running and ultra trail running.
Stroop waffles. I've been on such a stroop waffle kick ever since coming back from Vienna. That was a staple over there. Now I'm buying them from the Canadian grocery store. They're not as good, but they're similar. I didn't know there were stroop waffles in your part of the world.
Oh yeah, I love them. I buy them by the box and I take them on all my long runs. They're delicious. It's like, what a great excuse to eat dessert.
I know, and they're addicting. I'm hooked on them now.
Do you like those, Michael?
Oh yeah, and they're kind of a nice balance, right, Katelyn? Like when I've done very long excursions, they kind of have like they're a solid. They have they're not quite as a commitment as like eating a bar, especially some of the like a protein bar or something like that. They're kind of like a nice medium, like happy medium between like gels and like a proper something really, really solid. To nerd out a little bit further here, I'm curious about aid stations. I'm curious about wrapping your head around what it is you're going to eat. As I've discovered, I when I went to Hong Kong last year to do the UTMB event, the Translanto event there, not a crazy different buffet going on at the aid stations, but some differences, like more focus on like kind of like a cup of noodle type stuff than I've seen in North America. But you still see that in North America as well. So slight differences, but not great cultural differences, not as great as I had imagined. What are some really common items you see at the buffet that you can anticipate. So like if I'm seeing this through the eyes of like a first time ultra runner or somebody who's just like coming from the road world and they've signed up for, I don't know, a UTMB, like one of the regional events or like a local ultra. What are the staples that you see at the table?
And as an addition to that question, Hoka put pizzas and tacos as tiny little tread marks on their Mafate X because they claimed that those were the two food groups of ultra running. Is that true?
That's right. We reviewed those shoes together at TRE. I love that little detail. That was really fun. Okay. It's going to range quite a bit, but you are going to see your staples like chips, cookies, crackers, candy. Like that, you're going to see just like trays and trays of that. And just a little side note, because I don't know who this woman was, but I ran the Bear 100 years ago. And this woman, I have to say, volunteers at these aid stations are like the nicest people in the world. And I remember I got to this aid station, this huge buffet, and she was like, "Sweetie, what can I get you? Let me make you a Ziploc bag full of snacks." And she made me like this beautiful little care package while I was just, filling up my water and getting stuff ready so I didn't have to take the time to do it, and gave it to me. Like, just so a shout out to all volunteers who take the time in the 100 milers, because you're just so sweet. So you'll see those sort of things. Maybe you'll see fruit. Here in Costa Rica, we have a lot of like little potatoes with salt, like boiled potatoes and salt, which is a great, nice, simple carb with some salt to get in there. And then like Alex is saying, there will be some aid stations, probably even down the line, that actually have meal-like things. So who knows? You might get some pizza in there, some tacos, some burritos, sandwiches. Like I said, grilled cheese sandwich is a big staple for me. And Michael, you mentioned broth or noodle soups. That's a big one. And I have absolutely had those in 100 milers, just to drink a nice cup of hot broth on a really cold night. Like it's kind of a really good middle of the night snack to have, and you're getting a lot of sodium in there while you're drinking that chicken broth. So that's a really good trick as well. And I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but one staple that I've seen at all ultras is Coke.
Yes.
Coke is, I have run the second half of a 100 miler on Coke alone because my body was just rejecting all solid food and I couldn't get anything down. So I would literally fill my flasks up with Coke and I would take that in. I mean, you're getting calories, right? You got the sugar, you've got the carbs, and you've got caffeine, and you're also hydrating, right? So it's fluid. So it's kind of like, you get into those dire moments in an ultra where sometimes your digestive system just shuts down and says, no, if you eat it, I'm going to throw it right back up. Like, like kind of warning you, don't chew and swallow that. I'm done with taking in food with all of this effort. So the broths and soda and sports drinks and that sort of thing can carry you through if you're going through one of those crises, going through a crisis like that. I think it's a good backup because the one rule during an ultra is you cannot stop fueling. You will definitely bonk and you will not be able to continue. So take advantage of those beautiful buffets. But yeah, they've got everything.
And how much do you, okay, so you wear the little vest. The little vest is part of the uniform. You got to do it. And it's functional. It like got a bladder in the back if it's a longer haul or a hotter race. Got your hand flasks or the little flasks up front. You got some pockets. How much stuff are you packing from the start line? Like how much are you relying on the aid stations versus what you're packing with you?
That's a really good question. If it's a shorter ultra, if I'm doing a 50K, I'm almost going to take everything with me that I need because I am going to focus more on gels because it's not such an extended amount of time.
Yeah.
So I do want to eat as efficiently as possible. And the only thing that I'll do is when I'm coming into an aid station, this is just my kind of like competitive mindset. I'll take out the flask, I'll have it open, I'll fill the flask and I'll just keep going. So I won't have to stop. Now, when you're in a longer ultra or you're taking more time and you know that you'll need to stop at those aid stations, I'm taking stuff with me that I know agree with me very, very well. And I'm probably leaving in my drop bag, which we can maybe talk about later. A drop bag is a bag that you have at some or one or more of the aid stations where you can leave stuff so you can refill. So I'll also leave kind of like a care package of the things that I usually eat and take with me in a drop bag. So if I need it, I can go ahead and I can take that. But if I find that at the aid stations there are a lot of safe options for me, and I can kind of do this grab and go, and I'll grab some cookies or I'll grab some things that are very safe and that I'm used to eating, I'll do that too. But Michael, I do like taking a bunch of stuff with me that I know I can just eat. And then once I start getting a little bit sick of that, or the hours are long and I need, a sandwich, that's not something I'm going to take with me. So that's something that I'll take advantage of the aid station. So I'd say like the first half of the race, I use the aid stations for refilling fluid, like my sports drinks or Coke or water or whatever I need. And then as the race goes on, upwards of, maybe 7-8 hours, I'm saying, okay, I need some other food, and I'll start using the aid stations for, half of a grilled cheese sandwich here, or peanut butter and jelly, or some cookies or some chips, things like that.
Grilled cheese sandwiches, do you guys dip it in ketchup?
No.
You guys never done that before?
No. Is that a
Oh, really?
Is that a thing?
That's a Michael thing?
You gotta try it, guys. You have to try it. How do you feel about ketchup? How do we all feel about ketchup here? Alex doesn't like pizza. What else do you not like?
I don't really like cheese.
Oh,
So
boy.
Cheese. You don't
Cheese.
like, so never mind. So you hate grilled cheese then?
I don't like grilled cheese, but if I don't mind ketchup. Like, I'd put fries in ketchup, or like eggs ketchup. Yeah, ketchup is okay.
Oh, eggs and ketchup. No.
No, I wouldn't do eggs and
okay.
ketchup. No.
Okay.
No.
But ketchup
Really?
is fine.
That's a thing that people do. It is
I've done that. It throws me off when I go to Europe and they don't serve ketchup, but they serve mayonnaise on fries. It's weird.
Yeah.
Oh,
How do you
I
feel
just
about
like
mayo?
salt on fries.
Don't like mayo. Don't like the idea of mayo.
My wife hates mayo. I dig mayo. I'm okay with mayo.
Oh, we have a mayo story. When Michael and I landed in Boston to cover the marathon, and the first place we went to was it a Mexican restaurant? I ordered
Mexican place, yeah.
Which threw me off because usually like mayo is not that big of a staple with these Mexican dishes, I guess. But I got a burrito bowl, and I asked for no mayo, and instead the bowl came with extra mayo. It was a sea of mayonnaise, and Michael's
Just
like, I need to send a
mayo.
picture to my wife because it will make her cry. I was like, okay. And so
It was
I sent
mayonnaise and not like sour cream?
mayonnaise.
No, it was mayo.
Mayonnaise.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was drenched in mayo. It was like you could barely see the food underneath the mayonnaise.
Oh.
It's just a white puddle of yuck.
Ooze.
Guys, when
Ooze.
we're on work trips, why do we always go to Mexico? Have you noticed that? We go to Mexican
We
restaurants.
hit up Mexican a lot.
I mean,
yes.
margaritas with Ambi Burfitt. That was one of my best memories.
Well, I'll tell you why we went to Mexican restaurants in Texas. It's because Ambi could no longer do the Texas Roadhouse barbecue, and he was sick of it. And so
he's
we
just
always
like,
Oh,
guys,
yeah.
I don't eat a ton
Enough
of
is
meat.
enough.
Can we please go somewhere else? And there's a million great Tex-Mex places in Austin. So
Yeah, that was very fun.
Mhm.
So, Mr. Sear, the idea of, Alex Sear, first ultra, elite field entrant, debuting, 50-miler. He's going big. He's running late into the day. He comes into an aid station. He's
Yeah.
about ready to collapse. He can barely keep anything down.
Oh.
And the volunteer hands to him a grilled cheese sandwich. This is like your nightmare, eating cheese while running an ultramarathon.
Dipped in mayo.
Dipped in mayonnaise.
They dip it in mayonnaise just to spite me.
Yeah.
So what's your question?
I don't have one. That was
No,
just
I have one for
Just
Alex, though.
Bad imagery, okay.
I thought Michael was setting this one up. Okay, so everything that Michael said, you get into that aid station. What would you choose? What would you want? What would be your number one choice to say, I've been running for 8 hours. I'm starving. What do you think would get you to continue?
Well, I find that after a long day, if I haven't eaten enough, my cravings go towards salt, which
Okay.
means I'm probably a little bit dehydrated. So it's probably
Yeah.
a salty thing. I can't I don't really crave candy, like really sugary things. Maybe I would if I was like, getting close to that glycolytic hitting the wall place, but it's usually salt. So I think like a full bag of Ruffles chips would be my choice. Because is the rule that the food has to be fundamentally unhealthy for ultras? Is that like written in the Constitution?
No,
or is it just...
No, I don't think so. I think there's...
Seems that way though, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it's like no one's serving up like
it's never like,
peach.
Oh, there's carrots in the no. It's always like this food that your mom didn't let you eat when you were growing up, and now
this is exactly it. I'm like thinking about it's like the checklist of things I do not allow my 7-year-old to eat unless he's at a birthday party. Mm-hmm. That is what's going to be at the ultra buffet.
Jelly beans, Oreos, just anything.
quick sugar, I guess, right?
Yeah.
M&Ms.
Yeah.
The thing that I've gone to late into the day in an ultra type trail quest has recently in the last couple of years has been beef jerky. I bring my own little beef jerky, like
Victor loves
salty,
to bring that.
Sweet beef jerky, like teriyaki beef jerky. That's what.
Would the protein mess with you at all? Just like, but you do need protein eventually, but it doesn't. Okay,
it's just the salt. Yeah.
And I think in ultras as well, and that's interesting. Once you get deep into an ultra, a little bit of protein is actually going to go a long way. So it's not just like in a really quick race where you just want to think about carbs and you don't want to take in any protein. I actually have taken like a recovery drink, very far into an ultra that has like carbohydrates and protein to kind of help me out. So I think so a little bit of protein really shouldn't hurt you. I think once you're deep in an ultra, Alex, you're just trying to survive.
You're probably craving it. Your body's craving it at that point, probably.
Yeah. Because your body's like attempting to try to recover as you're continuing to do the thing that's destroying you.
Exactly.
Oh, the ultra. Okay. So now that we've got everyone sold on wanting to do one,
because of the food.
Let's take a pause, and when we come back, after we've all rated our own personal podcast ultramarathon buffet downstairs in our kitchens, in my case downstairs, I don't know where your kitchens are located. Actually, Alex's kitchen is right. I know exactly where Alex's kitchen is vis-a-vis where he's talking right now.
I'm in a condo. My kitchen is where my bedroom is, which is where my studio is, which is where my bathroom is.
He could be making himself a grilled cheese sandwich right now. We'll take a quick break and we'll do a little brief snapshot on just how you get into running an ultra. We'll pick Katelyn's brain on how where your starting point should be, what you should be looking for in an event, and when you should know you're ready. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. Tocci, should we
Doyle. Wait.
How you doing? Should we just say 50K is a great starting point? It seems like the most obvious starting point if you've never done an ultra before.
Yeah, I would say so. Absolutely. I mean, even if you say I've run a lot of marathons, why not just start with a 50K? Just start with a 50K so you can get used to all of the differences. Because we only mentioned really fueling. There's the pacing difference. There's running on effort instead of running by time. You're talking hills, you're talking terrain, you're talking gear. There's so many things that you need to get used to that I would say it's really nice to try it out on a 50K so you don't get overwhelmed and say, this isn't fun, I never want to do this again. So I'd say, just test it out. Test it out on a 50K and kind of get your feet wet on all of these new elements that you're not used to running when you're running road. And then, if you love it, take it from there and keep on going. But 50K is also a really awesome distance. I love 50Ks.
You might be able to get away with 50K without a big bathroom break too, right?
Exactly. Absolutely.
Like the comfort zone from the road to the ultra. It's like a gentler transition than just throwing yourself deep into 100 mile would just be in a really overwhelming experience.
Yeah, and you just need, as you continue you need to have a lot of resilience and a lot of psychological power to run a marathon and to run a specific time and to stay at a specific pace and your splits and all of that. But that also bleeds over into the ultras, and your mind becomes a huge part of it when your body's like okay still, but your mind is failing you first. That happens a lot in ultras, where you really need to be able to kind of push those negative thoughts out, because, if you're talking, you've been running for 10 hours, 12 hours, 20 hours, 24 hours. I mean, there's at some point your mind is going to waver. So that's something else that you've really got to work on. With a 50K, you might feel that for a little bit in those, maybe extra couple of hours, and it'll be a really good transition and for you to get used to that resilience that you're going to need for the even longer runs.
Mr. Sear, this is another selling feature for the ultra for you. If you do an ultra, you become mentally tougher, and then just running that super hard threshold pace half marathon for just over 1 hour will seem like easy by comparison. Huh?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that to me is maybe the draw of the ultra, and I'm going to be careful with what I say here, because I'm not going to insinuate that I'm aiming it for an ultra debut. But what I can appreciate already from afar is that the ultra will test your ability to do something hard, and I think that is the common denominator between ultra running and road running and track running and all running that led me to the sport at first, and that keeps me in the sport. And so I'll watch an ultra race, and I will immediately clock that I have nothing much in common with the sport. The sport I do has not that much in common with the sport they do. That's really what I think. But that commonality is there. It's like what's happening?
I think
you think there's more in common than I say?
There's more in common than you realize, Alex.
There's
only
some
time
in
will you will only exit Plato's cave and come into the light and experience the beautiful sun-kissed golden fields of truth in time.
See, I don't think so. I think you're both seeing this as like you'll come around when you get older. Like kind of when I was 7 years old and I would tell my babysitter, I'll never like girls. I don't want to get married. And just says, when you get older, you'll come around. This is not one of these moments. This is not like young Sear doesn't know what's best for him, doesn't know what's coming. Maybe in 10, 15 years you prove me wrong, but I really don't think so. I think I do fundamentally think that road racing and ultra running are two different sports, and I'm interested in one and not so much the other. I don't think I would get into ultras just for the same reason that I don't think I would get into competitive mountain climbing. Maybe I'll do Kilimanjaro one day, and I think that would be really, really cool to do it once. Maybe I'll run an ultra one day, and it would be cool to do it once. But I cannot see myself chasing ultras like I'm chasing the road. That just hasn't changed over the years.
And I do want to point out one thing that you said a little earlier, Alex, about when we were talking about the mental toughness that you need to have in an ultra. I really do want to point out that I think road running and my experiences in trying to get times in a half marathon and a marathon has completely fried my brain even worse than an ultra. Like it is, you need just as much resilience as a road runner as you do as an ultramarathon runner. It's just different. And the ultramarathons, you need to be able to think of just like to continue, get one foot in front of the other. Let's keep going. It doesn't matter how I'm going. I've just got to get one foot in front of the other. In a marathon, you're trying to do specific splits. Those have been some of the most stressful moments of my life. And my head has been the thing that has played tricks on me because I'm like, I can't do this. Or like in training, trying to hit a marathon pace, I'm like, no, I can't do this. My mind has completely failed me more in road running than it has in ultra running. So I think that's actually something that road running and ultra running have in common, that not only is it the fitness and the physical aspect of it, but you've got to be so mentally tough to be a runner in general, no matter what distance or what kind of running you're doing.
Mm-hmm. And then on the other side, I would say that ultra running requires better like thinking on the fly and technical ability, which I'll out myself. Part of the reason I'm not that much into ultra running is I don't think I'm particularly good at that. I think it would challenge me in ways that I care less to be challenged, if that makes sense.
Well, you have to be a problem solver, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if I am on the fly. I don't know if I am when I'm running. The problem I'm solving is you got to go faster, then you got to maintain the pace. And outside of that, I don't know if it interests me enough to try to get good at it. What's my perfect nutrition? How do I go to the bathroom? How do I manage my sleep? If you add orienteering in the mix, I'm done.
No.
Gone.
No.
I don't like that stuff. And so, I don't know, I respect it, but the challenges become so much more varied, and that freaks me out. Like, Michael, this thing you do for your birthday where you just like go and seclude yourself on some mountain somewhere kind of close to where you live or kind of not, and just try to do something really hard for the day. I admire it. It's not how I spend my birthday.
Yet. August 26th, 2040.
Okay.
15 years from the
I'm
day
writing
we
this
record
down.
Yes.
Put it in your calendar. We're going to do a reunion pod, or maybe it's just our
the pod's still going.
16th anniversary pod.
I hope so.
Who knows? There we go.
Like episode 3. Oh God, this requires some math.
I mean,
episode 1500.
Yeah. We're joking about this, but there are actually, like the Bill Simmons podcast, which I adore. He's been podcasting for like 20 years. So there we go. August 26, 2040. We're going to have a reunion pod, a one-off maybe, or maybe it's just that week's podcast. We're going to talk all about how Alex Sear feels about the ultramarathon in 2040. That's 15 years from now. Where will we be then?
Oh, Michael, don't wish that time. No.
How old will we be, Katelyn? How old? Before we hit record on the pod, Katelyn and I were both complaining about how our nearsighted vision is starting to go, and we're shopping for good-looking drugstore glasses. So
can't see my phone anymore, guys. Just the way it is. I have to pump up the font.
Actually, you know what? In 15
font.
years' time, I'm going to be Michael's age right now.
Thanks for that.
And there we have it. Although I wasn't nearly as talented or quick a runner as you when I was your age. So perhaps our fates will be different. And for your sake, I kind of hope so. So what are some of the biggest mistakes, Katelyn? What are some of the biggest mistakes if you dabble in the ultra for the very first time? Newbie, massive errors. What are some of the big pitfalls to avoid?
I think the most important one, especially when a road runner is coming into trail running, is that they focus on pace. You cannot, most, I'm going to say most, it's obviously not every single trail run is like this. Maybe I'm just used to it because the ultras that I always do have a lot of elevation gain and drop. So it's very rare that I can say, oh yeah, for this ultra, I'm going to hold a 5 minute per kilometer pace. Like it's crazy to say something like that or to think that. And also when road runners come to trail, a lot of them want to run all of the hills. That's another big mistake. Yes. Like you think, and it is completely, it is completely understandable because, you've been a road runner. You think that you have to run absolutely everything, but I have been in races, and I may have mentioned this on the pod before, not once or twice, many, many races where I am power hiking a hill and I am passing runners who are jogging or trying to jog up the same hill. So being a trail runner, being an ultra runner, part of the trick of the trade is to know when to hike, to power hike, and to know when to run. Because if you are smart about your pacing and you power hike a hill and you're passing people who are trying to run it, and then you get to the top of the hill with more energy, that flat and that downhill, you're going to be able to fly. Whether someone who's trying to run up a not very runnable hill is going to be completely out of breath when they get to the top. So you can't take advantage of that other terrain, right? You can't take advantage of the flats and take of it because you're already burnt out when you get to the top. So I would say that's number one, the pacing, the going out too fast, trying to run all the hills. Just don't burn yourself out because you're in it for the long haul. Running ultras is all about patience, and that's hard for some runners to understand. Now, if you're an elite, of course, you're talking about a different game, and maybe you have to go out fast because you have to stay with the head pack from the beginning. But I'm talking about all of us, everyday runners, like we need to be more patient with our racing because if not, burning out in an ultra is not fun. And even toying with the idea of a DNF, right, which is a do not finish, you don't want that experience. So I would say that would be the number one mistake, kind of that little cluster of problems. We talked about not practicing your fueling in general, not practicing fueling in long runs to get used to how you're going to keep your nutrition and your hydration up for such long periods of time. That's a big mistake that people they say, oh yeah, I'll do it at the race. The long runs, I don't have to do it as much. So I think that's something that someone could have trouble with. And a big one, which we can get into if we're going to talk about maybe how to choose your first ultra, is not paying attention to the terrain or the course elevation gain and loss of the race you're going to. So you don't want that as a surprise where you're training on maybe really flat trails and then your 50K race has, 3,000 meters of gain, right? It was 9,000 feet of gain. And you're like, wait a second, I didn't train for this. So you get these really bad surprises on the trail. So it's really important, kind of different than a marathon. Even though you want to research marathons too, but you really want to research the race you're going to run, right?
Yeah, I would say that the latitude between marathons is the difference is relatively tight in the grand scheme of things. The most outrageous marathon, I mean, there are marathons that kind of bill themselves as being very difficult, but they're kind of a different thing, right? But for the vast majority of road runners who are shopping around looking for a goal marathon to do in the spring or the fall, usually, the marathons are usually shaped around speed, pace. The whole Boston thing has created this sort of qualification ecosystem that has driven the vast majority of marathons, I would say globally, into one or two buckets. One being speed, just being flat and fast and marketing it that way. And the second being scenic, beautiful. And that scenic is usually a code for this marathon's kind of hilly, right? Yep. We send you, the Big Sur Marathon. It's the most incredible 26.2 mile view you're ever going to get.
Yeah.
I've run chunks of that, and it's hilly. It's very hilly. It's up and down. It's the highway along the Pacific coast, right?
Wow, so cool.
And so but the bandwidth and the grand scheme of things is pretty tight, right? If you look at the elevation difference and the terrain differences, it's just all tarmac, it's all asphalt, it's all paved, it's all relatively quick. You're looking at ultras. I mean, this is one thing that I have to admit, I made a bit of a rookie mistake last fall when I went to Hong Kong to run that UTMB event. I didn't study the course nearly as closely as I should have. In fact, there's a few videos that I watched on YouTube about it, but there was actually a bit of a dearth of information, which I aim to correct in the coming weeks with some content around that event for hyping up this year's event, because it was a really amazing event. But I didn't realize how many, there's a staircase system in the park that's really old concrete steps that are hollowed out like cinder blocks. So there's been erosion to the dirt that was filled into the holes in each step. So each step has a bit of a concave to it, or convex. I always forget which one it is. Curve inward, which is really hard on your feet after several hundred steps. Oof. Also, I'm not sure, it's a cultural size difference thing. The steps were really short and small, and I am not short or small. So my size US 12 foot was not fitting really nicely in those steps. It just turned into and there was a ton of elevation. There was a ton of sudden, very steep elevation because you're going up steps. And a lot of varied terrain, everything from roads to sand to jungle to nice single track sections where you're like, oh, I wish I could run this faster. So yeah, I should have done a better job studying it. Not all 50Ks, and this was just a 50K, not all 50Ks are created equal, right? And I got my friggin' ass handed to me by that course and by the weather, and I was not ready for it. And definitely something you should explore when you're shopping for your first ultra. What's the elevation profile look like? What are some of the features? What's the terrain like? How technical is it? How rooty is it? How rocky is it? How many steps are there?
Just to give you a real life example, my 50K is almost in the same shape, thinking that I'm at the same fitness level. I have run a 50K in about 5 hours on the trails, and I've run a 50K in 10 and a half hours. So that was the one that I did a couple months ago that had 5,500 meters of gain in the 50K, which was like ridiculous. It was like climbing for some of it. It was so crazy and a lot of fun, but it just time based. So, I mean, we're talking 5.5 hours difference in the range of 50Ks that I have recently run. So you have to, I mean, that is a huge deal. I think about nutrition for 5 hours and nutrition for 10.5 hours. So you really have to plan, because those differences can make or break a race. It's massive, massive. Yeah. Double.
You get yourself in a lot of trouble, actually. If
you can.
Yeah. Okay. So before we round this out and pivot into the apple in all ultra runners' eye, UTMB, and why it is so special, let's just snapshot of best way to pick your first ultra. You'd say we've talked a lot about the 50K as being a nice entry point. So maybe a 50K is good. What are some other features to look for? Do you go big race? Do you go UTMB event? Do you travel? Do you try to keep it local? Do you do like small mom and pop type ultra? Do you go sort of relatively graceful double track, like magic carpet ride type
fire roads?
Fire roads. Basically just a road race on a dirt road, which does exist. Those do exist.
No, these are all really, really good questions. What I would say is, number one, the distance, start with the 50K. Number two, look at similarities between where you can train and where you will race. So I think that's important. Yeah, I think that's really important for the first one. Because, in other races, if you want to, you want to travel, you want to go to different places, maybe like if I'm going to go into any cold race, I'm not really going to be able to train in the freezing cold. It's just not going to happen. So if I were running my first ultra, I would say, okay, I want to find something a little warmer. I want to find something in the conditions where I live and where I can train. So I would think about elevation gain. I would think about the weather. I would think about the altitude. If you live at sea level and you're going to run your first ultra, at 5,000 feet of elevation, maybe that will affect you. And so if you can't train in elevation, you don't know how you're going to feel. So I would think that, first of all, you want to choose something that's going to be comfortable for you, where you can train appropriately for that race. That's kind of like my most important tip. And thinking about
where were you last November when I was like, you know what, it's like 25 degrees Fahrenheit out in Toronto. Then I was in New York for the week covering that race, and it was kind of cold and kind of grim. And it's like, you know what I'm going to do now? I'm going to get on an airplane and immediately fly to Hong Kong, where it's like 95% humidity and like 90 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm just going to see what happens.
Yeah, that's exactly what so we can all learn from that choice that you made, Michael, that maybe for the first one, you should have come here and trained in Costa Rica for a few weeks. That would have been a nice way to, yeah.
Oh, is that a tacit invite? Is that
it absolutely
an open
is
door? Oh, okay. There we go.
Yeah. Anytime you want. Local or bucket lists, kind of, I like the smaller races, even if I'm traveling to another race. It's just more fun for me. I like kind of that community feeling. The big races are also really fun. Run Rabbit runs a really big run. I've run Kodiak. Last year was a big race, Black Canyon. So I kind of do a little bit of everything. For your first one, you don't want to run a new race. And the reason why I would say this is because you want to make sure that the race has a really good history of being well organized. So well marked, a lot of good aid stations. Because I've run some races, it's their first year, and that's kind of their trying out the race year. And maybe that can be great for a lot of experienced ultras, because if some things go wrong, kind of problem solving through it and they're used to it. But if it's your first ultra, you really want a really well organized race. So that all of those things are in control. The aid stations are where they need to be. They're fully stocked. The volunteers, it's well marked. Nothing's going to happen with the route. Maybe there's usually always good weather there. So just choose a race that probably has a few years under their belt. So you know that it's an established race, whether it's going to be a big race or whether it's going to be kind of like that mom and pop race, which are really fun. I think that, take a look at the course type. there are some pros and cons to all the different kind of course types, but you want to think of logistics. It's like marathons. If it's point to point, you have to figure out a lot of logistics. You either have to get to the starting point, get picked up at the finish line. It's a little more logistics. My favorite is one big loop, right? Because then you don't run over terrain that you've already run. You get to see new things for the whole 50K, and then you come back to where you started. So that's kind of a really nice loop. Mm-hmm.
And like any marathon that requires you to run one big loop, you're pot committed once you start.
Yes.
Where it's like doing loops would be so dangerous. I mean, it's for safety's sake, if you're doing like 100-miler, probably a good idea to be doing loops just in case things go really awry. You don't have to go out and do another 20K or 20-mile chunk. But for, I would say like for a 50K, it's probably a nice thing to like kind of force you to like see it through or really make that tough decision if you have to tap out, which, does happen.
Because you don't want to drop out in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, dropping out in the middle of the woods and then like walking into an aid station and then waiting forever to figure out a way to get back.
I've waited for 6 hours in the middle of the night in an aid station because my IT band would not let me continue in a 100-miler.
That's tough.
And I was shivering and freezing and it was miserable.
Oof.
So maybe I also have run a 100-miler that was 4 loops, like 4 marathons. It wasn't the most fun in the aspect of, you're running the same thing, you have to repeat it, but it was safer. So I guess if it is your first 100-miler, Michael, I do like that tip. Maybe it's not the most interesting route, but it's the safest route. You have your drop bag 4 times. You can get back to your stuff. If you have a crew and people helping you out, you can see them all the time, like at that start and finish point, and they can help you, and, give you some assistance. You could pick up a pacer maybe for the last loop. So loops do help maybe when you're thinking about those really long races in case something goes wrong. But a point to point or one big loop for maybe, like you're saying, like a 50K won't make you kind of tap out early if you don't really need to.
All right. There we go.
All Coach Katelyn's tips here. Come on, choose your ultra, boys.
Sign up for your first 50K, Sear. Come on.
Give me the easiest one. Send me the easiest one.
There's
okay.
There's some magic carpet rides out there.
Yeah. What's the weakest,
Katelyn,
just most
what's the softest, easiest 50K that Alice can do?
No, that's a good question. I haven't come prepared for this, but I think, Alex, you would fly in Kodiak that I ran in California last year. I think that was my fastest 5K, and it was there was a lot of trail as well, but there was also a lot of open fire road runnable stuff, and you would absolutely fly there. So the Kodiak might be a good one for you.
Okay.
I'm going to get more details on it.
Take your time.
Take your time.
Let's take one last pause, and then we'll come back and we'll chat a little bit about UTMB because it's happening. Podcast comes out on Thursday, so it will take place a day later. Friday evening is when it starts, and we're going to talk more we'll talk a little bit about this year's race in particular, but especially for the uninitiated or people who are kind of like casuals with UTMB, why it's so important, what's the deal with it, and what to little primer for you as you're doom scrolling through Instagram and you're like, man, there's a lot of UTMB content going on right now. Just a better understanding of what the heck is happening. We'll be right back. All right, this is the section where every time there's a French word that's said, we're actually just going to overdub Alex's voice and he's going to say it correctly for us. So might be a little weird, especially for Katelyn, where it's like all of a sudden you've got the Alex voice coming in, but it's better for all of us.
Yes, it is.
Mr. Sear, is your first language French? Are you native?
My first language is French, Canadian French, however. So I was shocked when you and I went to Paris, Michael, and they could understand your second language French better than my Canadian French because it was so different.
Really? In what way?
I had to I had to like translate for a waiter what Alex was trying to say when we were ordering food at one point.
And then we had this
this is totally messed up.
It was crazy. And I would have this because then my ego got involved. And so I would not, because they would try to switch to English. They would kind of get what I was saying, and then they'd figure, oh, this guy's an English speaker, so I'll switch to English. But I refused to speak to them in English. So it just ended up being this weird standoff where I would talk to them in French, they would answer me in English, and we just kept going with this dance. And so anyway, I don't know. Parisian French and Canadian French are very different, but I will try my best to pronounce it in the Parisian way, which I picked up the ability to do so because I have to make myself understood over there.
Well, worry not, my friend. We're not going to be in Paris where they're so judgmental. We're going up to the Alps. We're going over to Chamonix, the quaint little town turned kind of like, basically if you go to any like resort ski village in the world, it's kind of attempting to be a copy of Chamonix, France. That's what I've realized.
Yeah.
Spending a bit of time in Chamonix. And so this race, UTMB, Ultra Trail de Mont-Blanc, runs a tour around the Mont-Blanc area, the range where Mont-Blanc is in France. It's quite beautiful. Incredible running. This race has sort of turned into like the Super Bowl of ultra marathons. Katelyn, is that a fair comp?
Yeah, absolutely.
Bowl,
I would say so. It's one of the races that most ultra runners aspire to get into. Like everyone wants to run Mont-Blanc. We have one of our athletes here in Costa Rica, Alejandro Munoz. He's running the 100K race this weekend in the UTMB. And it is a very big deal for the team. We are going to be following him like crazy because almost everyone on the team wants to go someday to the UTMB.
And UTMB it's grown into being also, I would say, perhaps the biggest in terms of participation, in terms of entries, perhaps the biggest single ultra, certainly the biggest 100-ish mile. It's more than 100 miles.
Yes.
Event. It's technically, it varies year to year. It depends on how the course is doing. It depends on rock slides and various other factors. But it's usually 170-ish, 171, 174 kilometers. So that's a little more than 100 miles. 100 miles is 162 kilometers. So it's a stretch farther than a 100-miler. What's the length this year is a little different because there has been some issues with the course.
Yeah, there was some rockfall, actually at the very beginning, at the very start of the course. So the report that I was reading, it's going to be 175 kilometers this year. They've added about almost 2 kilometers to the course because they have to run around a section where there's been rockfall. So they can't do the original race. But I feel like this happens year to year in different parts or along this 100-mile loop where there are some issues that they need to figure out and they need to do some roundabouts or some changes to the course. So I think it's pretty common. But this year it is longer than usual.
There are several thousand entrants. It's extremely hard to get into. UTMB as a company has basically built an entire ecosystem around the popularity of this event. There are like literally dozens of UTMB affiliated or UTMB kind of franchised events globally every year. I mentioned in the last segment, Translanta, which is the Hong Kong event. And you mentioned Kodiak as well, Katelyn, which is in California. There are UTMB events pretty much scattered across the globe, and they have a point system. They call it stones. There's a stone system in place, basically a point system, where you can accrue a certain number of stones, which will kind of unlock entry into the UTMB that we all know and love, which they're now calling the UTMB World Series finale or finals. Now, to add to the complication of things, there are 3 UTMB events, 3 main events. And then there's a community race, there's other races as well, but there are 3 primary competitive UTMB events that everyone talks about. There's, oh man, correct me if I get this wrong there, Katelyn. There is UTMB, which is the event most people refer to when they say UTMB, which is 170-ish kilometer event we just talked about. That's the heavyweight fight. That's the number one. That's the A card for the event series.
And then it's got like 10,000 meters of gain. Just throw that in there, just so people can start to wrap their head around how much vertical gain that it has, right? Like 30,000 feet around there. And
you got to get to the top of the mountain somehow. Right?
Yeah.
Then you've got the CCC, which is, the C's just stand for the three areas where you're running around. Courmayeur, which is on the other side from Chamonix. Champais. Help me out here.
We need Champais, I would say.
Champais. And then Chamonix. And that's 100-ish kilometers. It's actually 101 kilometers, I guess. It's got a little more than 6,000 meters of elevation as well. So that's no joke for 100K. And then there's the OCC, a 56K with a pretty brutal 3,400 or 3,500 meters of elevation.
Yeah.
It's well known as being kind of the grittiest, grindiest, most kind of specific and technical version of the three events. But certainly when you hear people talking about UTMB, they're either referring to the company overall and the series overall, but most often they're referring to this event that takes place. It starts on Friday evening local time, and it goes throughout the night. Just as a point of reference, course records are Jim Walmsley on the men's side. A couple of years ago, 2023, he ran 19 hours, 37 minutes, and 43 seconds. And then the women's record, which was set last year by Katie Scheid, 22 hours, 9 minutes, 31 seconds. So there's your point of reference. What's a good UTMB time for like a serious recreational athlete that's, a good experienced ultra runner, but definitely a decidedly recreational runner, Katelyn?
I think if you can get under 30 hours, that would be incredible, because I think you've got 40 something hours to finish. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't review those points, but it's something around there. So I would say, this is not an extremely fast 100 miler. If we look at the records in something like Western States, which are a bunch of hours faster, you're seeing like, okay, if the course record for Katie Scheid is 22 hours, you know that this is a very, very tough course, because not only are you looking at all the elevation gain, but there are a lot of parts where the terrain is tricky, right? So you're also dealing with that. You're dealing with weather. The weather can change pretty drastically throughout the entire race in those mountains. So I think that's something else that runners have to deal with. You don't know for sure you're going to have just a really nice, beautiful day. You might get rain, you might get storms, it might be cold, so you have to kind of prepare for everything. And I think those are all contributing factors to why this is, a race where the course records are a little, still, those are amazing times, but you compare it to some of the other races and you're like, oh, wow, this course is hard.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little more distance than most conventional 100 milers as well, which is going to add on a chunk of time. But yeah, so this race is, I think it's also special just because of the location. Alex, you've been in the French Alps, you've done some running in the Alps, you've run on portions of this course before. I have done big chunks of it myself as well. I've never run UTMB before as an event, but I've been there and run on the course, which is just a beautiful, although well-trafficked hiking trail for 364 other days of the year. What's your takeaways, Alex, from running in this part of the world specifically?
Oh, it was beautiful. Like, as much as I grumble about ultra running, that was one of the coolest running experiences of my life. Like, I was out there. We were there on a press trip. We were there with 11 Experiences. It was like a cottage company that they're big in like fishing, and now they're going into the running space, and they're like, what better place than Chamonix or Mont-Blanc close by to like prop ourselves into? And I get it. It was a cool play. I mean, we crossed a part of Mont-Blanc that crossed us from the French side to the Italian side of the Alps. Very beautiful. I asked we had guides, obviously. I asked one of the guides why he thought it was that part of the Alps in particular became famous with runners and with the running community and ultra running. And he said something that surprised me that I never thought of. He said, it's because out here, there are no dangerous animals. And you can't say the same with a lot of other places.
That's interesting.
Like no encountering panthers like Katelyn occasionally does in Costa Rica.
Those pesky panthers.
Or a bear in Canada.
Or a bear in Canada, or even mountain lions. I said, no, there are no mountain lions.
Mountain lions are more problematic than I would say. Okay. Well, grizzlies are definitely something to be fearful of in the Rockies, but yeah.
But you're probably more likely to encounter a mountain lion, right, where there are mountain lions, than a grizzly bear. But over there, the worst thing that you can encounter, he said, was a lost sheep who you would then shepherd back to the farm. And so thing is, it's pretty safe. No airborne diseases, no malaria, even like little dangerous bugs, not so much. And so you can kind of run at your own will without thinking much of things that could be dangerous. Yeah. Not many slides, rock slides, mud slides. So it's actually one of the safest places to run in the world.
And parts of it are very runnable, like quite runnable.
Well, that's it too.
You know, of course, 170 plus kilometers later, you're probably not going to feel like it's so runnable, but like elevation gain aside and loss aside, like steep ups and downs aside, there's stretches that are pretty runnable.
Yeah. Where we were, and I mean, obviously they probably took us through one of the most runnable places, but according to, so I was there with three other media personalities / athletes, and very accomplished athletes. One of them being Anna Frost, who's like
I love Anna Frost.
Yeah, you guys have met a few times, and yeah, she told me that the running joke the entire time was I kept telling them that I was a road runner and I did not want to use my hands. I said, if I use my hands, it's not running anymore. I don't want to use my hands. It's climbing. And she said, you're not going to have to use your hands. Maybe use some poles going down, but otherwise you should be fine with just your feet. And I really liked that. And that held true. It was running, fast walking, but no like climbing or digging your way out of weird situations. And so that, you know, for a more conservative style runner, it was nice, but I would say that anyone racing probably appreciates that too.
Interestingly enough, UTMB as an actual event, like as a proper event, only had its first iteration, like only started in 2003. So this is like a, 22-year-old event as of this year, right? So it doesn't have this 50 plus year or 45-year legacy that that Western States has, for example. It doesn't have the like cool protagonist and weird horse race and lore that Western States has. By all accounts, from what we did a little bit of research, and it was just kind of like, yeah, local runners in the area thought it'd be really cool to turn this loop to turn this trail into a race. And that's kind of how it was born. And in the first year alone, I think there was about 700 people that entered the first year alone. So
that's a lot. That's a lot for
it's
first
a lot
time.
For the first year of a race. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Okay. So let's, before we wrap this up here, obviously UTMB, very special race, not without its controversies though, I will say. There's people in the ultra world that feel like UTMB is, to use a very 90s reference, a very grunge reference, UTMB sold out.
Oh.
And because they have gone into partnership with the Ironman Corporation. And as I mentioned before, they created this slew of satellite events and this whole ecosystem of qualifying for the big grand finale event in France, in Chamonix. And there's this kind of sense that it's like, it's turned into like the Disney World of ultra running events. I'm going to put Katelyn on the spot here.
Oh boy.
What's your take, Katelyn? How do you feel about UTMB? Do you want to do UTMB? Do you feel like or are you just like, no, I'm too hardcore for UTMB. It's like I don't need the UTMB. I don't need the backpack. I don't need the jacket.
I also don't want to be that close-minded on. I think that I prefer to run smaller races, maybe just because, I don't know, I just like that community feeling. And maybe some people will say, well, UTMB has been, very commercialized, but that also makes it this like big, great, amazing event. And I was talking about this with some of my friends the other day, and they said, yeah, but Katelyn, don't you want to run the majors? That's, the major marathons. And I was like,
great point.
It was a
Same
really
thing.
good point. It was a great point, and it made me stop and think. This was just yesterday, I think, because I was we were going to talk about UTMB on the podcast, and I have a lot of friends trying to get me to go. And I said, no, you know what? You're absolutely right. I've got to change my mindset a little bit and embrace also these big races, because I can just imagine myself, I'm being like, trying to talk the talk, and I'm not going to walk the walk, because I'm going to be at that start line hopefully one day on UTMB, and I bet like the tears are going to be running down my face of the excitement of just the sheer atmosphere and the tons of spectators and the excitement of being in that town. And so I think that as an ultra runner, I do, and I will need that one day. And I'm sure I'm going to go crazy and just, you guys have both run in the area, so you already know. I've never run there. I haven't seen this these magnificent mountains and these views and these gorgeous places. So I think that yes, to answer your question, sorry, with a very long answer, yes, I do, and I will hopefully be, if I can get in, run UTMB one day. Maybe not the 100-miler. Maybe I would love to do the 100K, like my friend's going to run in a couple days. But in some aspect, be there and just like soak up the excitement of what that race is.
And also, I kind of don't blame UTMB for selling out. Because I think that's kind of all of the trail world that it's slowly happening is a professionalization of trail running, right? Like we're seeing better gear. We're seeing more money poured into these races because, for a good reason, more people are getting interested into trail running in the last few years. And I think companies are seeing an opportunity in that. Just saw Nike release its whole new ACG lineup with new shoes, with its best super foam and carbon plates. And it's, I think what happened in road running not that long ago with much better shoes, and hey, now we have a 7th major marathon. We're seeing the same thing in the trails. And I think that struck me when I first became aware of ultra running, was that it seemed like this community of outsiders or oddballs that didn't seem, and I mean, look, road running also is that way. It's all relative, right? If you compare the soccer or hockey community in North America with the road running community, yes, the road runners are the oddballs, but it seemed that existed even more in trail running. It's like we go off the beaten path, no pun intended. And I think they're losing that a little bit as road running has lost that a little bit, as more people become interested and as there's more opportunity for money to get involved. So I don't know, if I'm UTMB, I totally sell out, and they'll probably be the first of many races to go that way.
Yeah, I have a few thoughts here. One being that these other kind of the other sort of like Grand Slam, the big events in the ultra world that get the most attention, that have the most sizzle and the most social media presence, are really hard to get into because they only have a couple hundred entries. Yeah, you'd think like
your Hard Rock,
Hard Rock, the Western States, which we've mentioned a few times before, which I would say is like UTMB and then Western States in the US are sort of feel like the two sort of like polar, like not opposites, but the two kind of pinnacles of ultra running in different ways. Like those are really hard races to get into. Whereas UTMB has thousands of entries, not 300 entries. So there's definitely an accessibility thing going on with UTMB that just doesn't exist with these other ultras that have a lot of name brand recognition. And also I'd say that UTMB, the events and obviously the big race have a standard. They have a very high quality standard. Like with the majors and road running, there's a certain standard that has been met and kept. When you're running a major, you're running a great race. And it's going to be a great experience. And yeah, there's a lot of hype around it. Yes, there's a lot of marketing. Yes, there's a lot of merchandise. There's a lot of stuff you can buy, which maybe for the real ones, we feel like it waters down the experience a little bit, or, feels like everyone's just running Boston to get the jacket. They're not running Boston to like run the marathon. And I think these events are big enough that they can they're like a big tent. They can encapsulate everyone. I mentioned a couple times before on this podcast already that I did a UTMB event last November, and I had a lovely time. I thought it was extremely well organized. I thought the aid stations were fantastic. The volunteer network was amazing. There was very clearly a system of standards in place, and they were very high standards. And then also all the UTMB people that I interacted with were lovely people who clearly cared about what they were doing. And we're all like very serious about the ultra scene. And like, I even ran with one of them just coincidentally. The guy like scooped me up about, 10 or 15K into the race. He was having a tough time. I was having a tough time. Shout out to Fabrice at UTMB, because he basically like dragged me through a big chunk of the race. Just a person who cares, right? So anyway, there's my rant on UTMB. I can't believe I'm shilling for the corporation. There we have it. Okay, guys, before we wrap up here, let's just do some quick picks.
Okay.
We haven't gone deep into this year's race, but little snapshot here. Let's go women's side first. Katelyn, the obvious storyline, Courtney Dauwalter, she's back. Took a little break last year. Katie Scheid went and ran the course record, took her record away. Now everyone's saying like, is Katie Scheid, then is she going to sort of supplant? Is she going to take over GOAT status from Courtney Dauwalter? Courtney Dauwalter is probably the biggest name, I would say, in ultra running on the women's side, certainly. What's going to happen on the women's side?
Yeah, she's a 3-time champ, right? She had the course record. Katie Scheid just overtook the course record. And I think Courtney is going to come back and she's going to want to get the course record back. So the amazing thing would be, let's see if she can be the first woman to break 22 hours, right? Because the course record stands at just over 22 hours. Now, I don't know if we need to take this into account, but the fact that the course is going to be a couple kilometers longer, this is going to have something to do with it. So she might have to chop down the time a little more than she would have if it were exactly the same course as last year. So we don't know if that's going to affect anything, but it is, for Courtney, everything is possible. I mean, you guys know she's my favorite. I just love her whole demeanor. She's an amazing runner to watch. She has like the best attitude out there. Her focus, her dedication is unmatched. And so, yeah, I would love to see her get a course record so she can have that title again. And so I'm wondering how she's going to run this race, if she's going to focus on that course record. Can't wait to hear an interview, like a pre-race interview. She probably won't say that. She's so incredibly humble, but I feel like that would be kind of one of the storylines here for me is she going to get that course record back? She's got a few contenders out there. Ruth Croft is running. She's from New Zealand. She's a very great versatile runner because she's super fast and she's also a really good climber. Usually you're either super fast or you're a really good climber. We saw her last year. She ran as well. She was in the podium. She's really gritty. She's just like kind of all over a really strong athlete. She actually came in second last year to Katie Scheid. She did come in about 40 minutes later. However, with just a very short time to go, maybe like 20 miles to go, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, she was an hour behind Katie Scheid. And so in just that time, she was able to chop 20 minutes into that lead and be able to kind of gain on her a little bit. So I think that Ruth is a great contender and is going to be a little dangerous for Courtney there. And it would be very cool because this would be the triple crown for Ruth. We've got two people, one on the women's side and one on the men's side, who are fighting to have this triple crown. She has won, that means she has won the OCC in 2018, 2019, and the CCC in 2015. So if she wins UTMB, she'll have all of those three big race wins. So that's on the line for her this year. So if she has a really good race, she could do that. And that would be an amazing feat for her. And another big front runner is Abby Hall. She's from the US and she just won Western States this year. So she was coming back after a knee injury for a couple of years, came back, won Western States, clocking like the fourth fastest time in history. And she's a 2-time CCC podium finisher. So she's someone who could, and you know what? I am not incredibly familiar with this runner, but from reading about her, I love one thing about her. She ran UTMB last year, and I love elites who do this, and there are so few. She didn't have a great race, and she finished UTMB in 31 hours. And that to me, she has won a spot in my heart, because if there is one thing that I do not like is if an elite is having a bad day and they just drop out because they're not in a great position and you don't fight it out and just finish at your own pace. I understand. There's money on the line. There's other races. There's brands. I understand. I don't have that kind of pressure or sponsorship, but I just love a runner, love an elite who's going to say, I'm going to finish this race. And if I come in 200th or if I come in 50th, it doesn't matter. I'm going to finish. So I love that. I feel like that shows she has a lot of heart and a lot of grit, and she'll finish and she just fights through. So I think she's another one who could be up there for the win podium.
And we should say Katie Scheid, who is not racing this year, although she is in Chamonix. I was on her Instagram. She's there. She's doing some stuff. I believe she is now with On Running, the Swiss brand.
Okay.
So she's there hanging out, which is cool. She won Western States last year and then followed it up by setting the course record at UTMB in that tight window. That's like I'm just doing the math here, like a 6-7 week gap between the two events, something like that. Very tight turnaround. Mm-hmm. So Abby Hall, you could do it. That's like winning. Be in the
shape of her life.
Man, like doing those two events. I guess the road running equivalent, the marathon equivalent, would be like winning like Berlin and New York in the same year or something like that.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Absolutely
and I mean,
brutal.
We can remember that Courtney did the triple win, right? That she did. She won Western States, she won Hard Rock, and she won UTMB all in 1 year, which I feel is just about impossible. I feel like Courtney's coming in on fresher legs this year because she didn't do something like that. She won Lavarello in Italy, and she did have some races this year, but she didn't do this kind of triple trifecta of those 100-mile races in Hard Rock, which is supposed to be one of the most difficult 100-milers out there. So I think that, she's coming in on fresh legs to do this race too. So, but remember, let us not forget that 100-milers, anything can happen, anything. And there can be dark horses in this list. There could be 20, 30 more women that we're not talking about and we're not mentioning. And one of those could come through and win UTMB because ultras and 100-milers are just like that. We saw that with Vincent last year on the men's side. He wasn't even spoken about in a lot of those lists, and he won UTMB. So, we're mentioning these amazing, incredible athletes, and there are probably about 20 more in the running, like Emily Hogg from Zimbabwe. We've got Heather Jackson. We've got a lot of people who are still in the runnings who may fight for those podium places. We'll have to see what happens.
Beautiful segue, Katelyn. Thank you so much. The men's side. Yeah, Vincent Boyard who was the kind of unsung hero of UTMB last year. Last year, UTMB had this sort of like beautiful symmetry, these two twin storylines of the greatness, the emerging greatness of Katie Scheid on the women's side. And then on the men's side, you had this total unsung hero, dark horse figure, this dude who works for Hoka as an employee. It's like you work at the company and they're like, hey, we got some free bibs for UTMB. Anybody want to sign up? And he's like, I kind of enjoy ultra running. And I also designed the shoe that our elite runners are going to run in. So I know what I've got under my feet. And he went out and he won.
It was amazing.
I'm downplaying, like he had some credentials in the ultra world for
I think
sure.
He won Grindstone. He won. Yeah, he's won big races.
But he's not back this year. So what's the men's field look like? Give us the sort of the snapshot of what the storyline is there.
Okay. Oh, and just to throw this out here, I think Vincent is not in the running, and probably a bunch of other great ultra runners are not in the running because the World Championships for trail running is in exactly 1 month after UTMB. So I think that if you're going to choose, which one to do, if you're either going to run UTMB, you're probably not going to want to do the double in the World Championship. So I think there are a lot of people who have taken a pass on UTMB, a lot of elites to want to run the World Championships in Spain at the end of September. So we've got, and I'm just going to say it right off the bat, we've got my favorite. Alex, do you want to, Ludovic, can you get that name in there for me perfectly?
Ludovic Pommeret.
Thank you. He is our 50-year-old runner who won Hard Rock this year. He's absolutely incredible, wonderful, gritty runner. He finished 5th in both 2023 and 2024, 4th in 2021, and he has won UTMB back in 2016. So he does have a win under his belt, and he will be there. And remember, it doesn't matter. It's not like elite marathon running where you've kind of got this short window. He's still on top, running amazing, winning these incredible 100-milers and ultras. So Ludo is up there on my list. Next, Alex?
Next, we have François Dehaene.
Yes, he has... Thank you. He has won, I just don't want to butcher these beautiful names. He has won UTMB 4 times. And so he has the joint record with the most victories alongside Kilian. So it will be wonderful to see if he can, sure that's what he's fighting for. He wants his 5th win, and he wants to have the most UTMB wins as he can. So he's in there for the runnings. Then we have Tom Evans from the UK.
No, that's Tom. No, you said it right. Okay.
Oh, thank you, Alex. I have more for you. Don't worry. There are more for you on the next one is for you on the list. Tom Evans. But I probably could have said it much nicer. He's from the UK. So is it? As I recall, he has DNF'd from UTMB in his last couple of tries. And so he actually ran the Coastal. I just want to do a shout out. He ran the Coastal Challenge here years ago, the same year I ran the Coastal Challenge here in Costa Rica, which is a stage race. And he's a new dad, which I think sleep deprivation may be on his list of challenges. A 14-week-year-old daughter, as I read. So he's coming in probably, let's say, maybe that heat training and sleep deprivation training is just going to help him out and make him tougher.
I'm not sure sleep deprivation training is a thing.
It's not a thing.
It's just sleep deprivation.
It just eats away at your ability to run fast.
Yeah, Tom Evans is a wonderful, amazing runner, really nice person as I met him years ago. So we'll see. He is definitely up there in the runnings. Okay, Alex, take it away.
Next one, we have Germain Grangier.
Wow. This is his 6th UTMB attempt. He has finished 9th, 5th, and 3rd, and he has 2 DNFs there. So he is another one in the runnings. He knows the race well. And he did come in 3rd at Hard Rock this year. So he did just have a really tough race and came in 3rd there. So he's in the runnings. We have a few more gentlemen to mention. We've got, I can do this one, I think, Hayden Hawks from the US. He has run the CCC, 2017 and 2024 winner. So he wants to give the UTMB a shot this year. He DNF'd in 2019. So he's got to get his finish in this year. And the other gentleman, I met John Albon. He's from the UK. And he has only run one 100-mile race, but he has won the OCC in 2021, which is a 50K. And he won in 2022, he won the CCC. So he's another one who's going for the Triple Crown like Ruth Croft. So it'll be great to see if he can get that triple win as well. So those are the most popular athletes in the lineup, or the most well-known. But as I mentioned before, I'm probably missing another 20 runners who could be in the runnings for that podium finish.
Okay, gang, let's do our picks. Mr. Sear, who are you going to go with? Men's side, women's side. Give us your picks.
Women's side, I was reading the study on brain disease, and they were trying to activate the brain in a way. So one good way to counter brain disease is to make sure that your brain remains very active. And so they tried to put a person through a bunch of different emotions to find out which emotions lit the brain up the most, with the rationale of, if we know certain emotions that fire people up, we'll try to make them feel that long into their lives so that they can train their brain and stave off brain disease. And do you know what the most intense reaction or emotion to fire up the brain was? Revenge. Revenge. Nice. Therefore, yeah. And think about it.
Oh, wow.
You know when you want
That's
revenge?
Dark, man. That's dark. We are a screwed up species of people.
Isn't that crazy?
Animals.
But you can feel it in yourself, right? When you really want revenge on something, you're an animal. You're fired up. So, let's say Courtney Dauwalter's my girl this year. Yeah, she's going to take control of that record again.
I love it.
So it's going to be her. And on the men's side, I just love the Pommeret story, Ludovic Pommeret. I'm rooting for him. And then the small little part of me that's like, I want an elite distance runner from the roads to take it. A distance runner who's had a similar trajectory to me. I need to go with Hayden Hawks, who's an NCAA cross-country athlete who's done a lot of track. And so I see a little bit of kinship there, although he's been a lot faster than me. So Pommeret or Hawks are my hopes, and I'm going to go with Pommeret for the win.
I can just say double what Alex said. I'm going with Courtney and Pommeret. That's who I want to win, and I always follow that. Maybe, I don't know. I feel also like they're very strong choices, so I'm going with them. Michael, are you gonna surprise us?
I'm zagging.
Yeah, I thought so.
Gonna go Ruth Croft.
Okay. Yeah.
Her time.
Could be.
She has been she has been second fiddle to so many of these athletes and just been right there. I feel like this is her time. Speaking of revenge, Alex. And then on the men's side, I'm cheering for Tom Evans. He's a Brit. He's a very talented runner. Lowe's, like 63-minute half marathon back in the day.
Wow.
A varied career. You know, he's run half marathon road world championships. He's been in the military, and he's also a very accomplished ultra runner now. Makes great content on YouTube as well. A nice YouTube channel. Whoever's doing the filming for the YouTube stuff, it's really good. It's very cinematic. I like following his journey. And so I'm rooting for him. I think he's going to do it. He had a tough go recently, last time around. So I'm going Tom Evans, I'm going Ruth Croft. Those are my picks for this year.
Cool.
And we'll see what happens. Okay, guys.
All right.
The Ultramarathon of podcasts, certainly for Alex Sear. August 26th, 2040. Put it in your Google calendar or whatever it is in 2040. Will Google still be Google? Will we still have calendars?
It's going to be
write things down.
The OpenAI manuscript that we have in our little.
Will it just know? Will it just remind each of us in 15 years, very earnestly, hey, you have an appointment today with Alex and Katelyn to talk about Alex's ultra running career.
And And to talk about our hip replacements.
Yeah. And our bifocals.
And on that day, I'll just look at both of you and say, did your eyesight start to get worse all of a sudden when you turned 42?
Yep, exactly.
Do you remember that, guys? Yeah.
What do you recommend from the drugstore for being able to read? I can't see my phone. Thank God there's no phones anymore. It's just implanted in my brain. All right. Email us. We've got a slew of emails in the last week. I should have said this off the top to get even more, but really if you're this deep in, take a moment. Email us any questions you have. Questions, comments. We love flattery. Criticisms, critical feedback, whatever you want to share with us. We do a mailbag every quarter, so the fall mailbag is forthcoming. It'll happen in a few weeks. So get those questions in podcast@marathonhandbook.com. It's podcast@marathonhandbook.com. And we'll take in all your questions, technical questions, shoe questions, training questions, more ultra questions. We can answer them for you. We love your questions. And there's also, we'll put a link in the show notes and in the YouTube description for the video podcast, which is a link to basically your ability to send us a voice note. That would be awesome. Send us a voice note with a question and we will play it. We'll play it on the podcast when we do our mailbag episode. That'll be fun. Subscribe to that newsletter that we do every single day of the week. It goes out at 5:05 Eastern time. We do that on purpose so that when you're insane like me at 5:05 this morning and you're awake, waiting to go for your run, you know it, Katelyn.
I do. I do.
And you get the email in your inbox and it gives you something to read while you're waiting for your training partner to wake up and respond to your text.
And you're drinking your coffee. It's nice.
Oh, I don't mess with the coffee at 5 a.m.
Oh, okay.
Enough said. And Mr. Sear, you just dropped an absolutely sick video. Is it a shoe review disguised as a training vlog, or is it a training vlog disguised as a shoe review?
It's a second one. Yeah. I like any excuse that I can take to bring Kosuke with me, our videographer, on my workouts and film the entire thing because it's fun and it's a bit less lonely than working out alone. So we just reviewed the New Balance, let me get this name right, New Balance Fuel Cell Supercomp Elite V5, the longest name in the game, currently New Balance's fastest road running shoe. It's quick. It's an improvement from their previous one. I took it through the paces. I'm now in like the deep well of half marathon training. And so these are big weeks. One of my big workouts was a 30-minute threshold run. So just 30 minutes straight at a quite uncomfortable pace. And I wore the shoes for that. And
I should interject here and say, other shoe reviewers in the game, other shoe tubers, they run the shoes. You see them running the shoes. The fast shoes, you see them running in the fast shoes. You always wonder to yourself, how much are they really running in these shoes? I can tell you, Katelyn, Alex ran effectively a 30-minute 10K in a workout.
Jesus.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Pretty much.
It was 9.89 kilometers in 30 minutes flat.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. So that's
testing some
feedback.
shoes.
Yeah, that's stressing the super shoe to see what it can do.
Yeah. And and the shoe's good. So the review's out. And
the shoe hung on. It didn't explode on you when you were running.
No, it did not.
That's a good sign.
I spent the whole last week training and filming because we just got like a pretty big shipment of new shoes out here, including 2 very new, and by new I mean not just the new edition, but a new shoe entirely, both from ASICS. They came out with the Mega Blast and the Sonic Blast, which are 2 completely different models. Wasn't sure what they were for, so same thing. I tested them out. I got a bunch of workouts this last week, and so Kosuke just followed me around, and we're working on another video to try to feature, but also differentiate those two shoes. So we're going to have a similar running vlog-y type shoe review for both of those. That's coming out soon. And yeah, another one about setting time goals. I keep talking about it. I've been doing my darndest to not set a time goal for my upcoming half marathon in Cardiff because I know that's going to make me greedy. And so I'm abiding to the pseudo wisdom that I tried to spit in that video and just going day by day. So that's kind of a video essay. It's also coming out soon on our YouTube channel.
Which means he's going to try to run a personal best by 2 minutes, Katelyn.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
No limits means faster.
What does Kipchoge say? There are no limits to human potential.
No
Nothing
human
is impossible.
is limited. There you go.
I will tease for our future episode when that ASICS shoe review drops. I will talk a little bit about my thoughts on it because I've been running in it myself.
Oh, all right.
I have very specific thoughts about it. Good thoughts. I'll leave it at that, but specific thoughts. Okay. All right, gang, we did it. That was a long one, but we are at the finish line. We have finished the 100-miler of talking. Until next week. And next week we will talk all about the peak week. What it is.
Oh, yeah.
Why you do it. Katelyn's got trauma. You just finished your peak week.
Yep. It's fresh.
We'll unpack the science of the peak week, how we approach peaking, when we throw it into our program, where it sits, how we climb to the peak, how we descend off the peak.
And how to avoid creaks and tweaks on the peak week.
Well done, sir. Until next week.
Bye.